This is a really fucking good change, by the way. It is gonna be way faster to get your key to a certain level. Dragon 4 okay. View full article. As part of ongoing development in Dragonflight, the development team identified 3 issues to address based on community feedback regarding the dungeon system as it is. Heroic dungeons are barely distinct from normal dungeons at maximum level, and that distinction mostly only matters during a few days after players first reach max level. Mythic 0 dungeons rapidly lose relevance a few weeks into an expansion, once the M+ season starts, with occasional exceptions for the weekly event quest. The only truly in-game dungeon mode, M+, currently revolves around a timer. This means that other than new mega dungeons, there isn't really a place for in-game players who enjoys a more methodical dungeon pacing and gameplay. I'll just given the combination of 2 underutilized difficulties and a gap in meeting player demand, we're restructuring dungeon difficulty and rewards in Season 4. The heroic difficulty and rewards will move up to roughly the current level of M0. These dungeons will remain available to queue into via the group finder. Let's see here, though the item level requirement to queue will also go up accordingly. M0 difficulty and rewards will move up to roughly the current level of Mythic 8 to 10. This is a bit hand-wavy numerically. It's close to level 10, but not having a timer at all or affixes really offsets that quite a bit. Okay. So if you're doing an M0, it will be like you're doing an M8 to level 10 key, and it will obviously not have a timer. The existing M+ system will pick up where that leaves off, such that a Mythic 5 in Season 4 is roughly equivalent in difficulty rewards and a plus rating awarded to a Mythic 15. So the key levels will be way lower on average than currently. So here's a visualization of the change. Light blue circles represent where new affixes appear, going from level 2, 7, 14 in the current world to 2, 5, 10 in the new one. Okay. So level 2, then this would be, yeah, as they said, level 7 and level 14. And then in Season 4, you can see here it will be level 2, level 5, and level 10. Season 4 changes will apply to all 8 of the Dragonflight dungeons. As part of these adjustments, we have a few goals in mind. Recalibrate core difficulties to align with seasonal player experience and progression. Serve the community who enjoys dungeon content, but feels that M+ content isn't for them due to the pressures of taking part. Create a better environment in M+ to prepare more players to take part. Create a better environment in M0 dungeons to prepare more players to take part in M+. Okay. One of the most notable changes players can look forward to is the removal of the timer for Mythic Keystone dungeons for what are currently 0 and 10. So players can run through these dungeons at their own pace without the need to watch the clock while still honing their skills. So normal difficulty is unchanged. For Heroic, the tuning and rewards of this difficulty is increased to be equivalent to baseline M0 in the current system. Mythic difficulty changes and mechanics will not be present in this difficulty. And it remains a queuable experience. So that's the new Heroic. So for M0 dungeons, the tuning and rewards of this difficulty are increasing to the equivalent of a +10 with affixes in the current system. However, there will no timer, and there's no affix. And there's also no limitations on changing talents while inside the key. And gear, I'd imagine. So the goal is to create a mega dungeon-like difficulty for this experience. This difficulty should present a meaningful challenge and provide, what the fuck do you say, as commensurate rewards. I've never used that word before. Without the pressures of the current M+ system. M0 is still on a weekly logout under this model. So people that don't really like to push keys, but still want to like learn the dungeons or whatever, and still get decent loot, you will be able to just do an M0 dungeon. And will be like doing a level 10 key now. This is quite a drastic or big change actually. So the M+ system will have rewards up to level 10 with a +2 starting from what would regularly be a +11 in the current system. A +5 should be as hard as a +15, and a +10 should be as hard as a +20. So it kind of means that as soon as you're going into a +2 dungeon, you should see it as if you are doing a level 11 key, right? So you can really just retract the new key level by adding on 10 key levels to the current one. So if you're doing a level 10 in the new season, think of it as if you're doing a level 20. So instead of people doing, let's say, 32 keys at the top level, you're going to see the highest keys being like 22 instead of 32, right? Affixes are going to be starting from level 2 with Fortified Tyrannical. +5 will be, that's a 15 key, right? Tangling Corporal and stuff. And then +10 will be Bursting Bowstring. Now, I hope they're going to be doing something more with the affixes, because I think certain affixes are just not good. I think Sanguine is ass. I think Bowstring is ass. There's some affixes where you are forced to play a certain class as well. There's a huge difference between having an Augmentation Evoker in a Raging Week compared to not having it, right? Like, it's just, the difference is just massive. So I think they should definitely touch a little bit on the affixes as well. Now, if they went and said that they are going to do Fortified Tyrannical, sure, I don't really mind too much if that is on a rotation. But if they just did like seasonal affixes, or they added some kind of... Imagine if you had Thundering, right? They did some rework on some of the seasonal affixes and re-implemented them. Imagine if you had Thundering without the stun. So instead of looking at the seasonal affixes as like a negative, you would instead get rewarded for playing them good. But if you're in a shitty situation, then you're not necessarily gonna be punished for it. So it would be more of like a positive affix and not like a negative one. You wouldn't have like the stun that would literally just wipe your team if you fuck it up. I think that would be more interesting. So playing the affix is good, you get rewarded. If you don't, you just don't get the bonus damage. Something like that would probably be a little bit better. Because no one wants to play on a Sanguine week or on a Bowstring week, because you are just playing the dungeons on a harder difficulty, and in most cases you'll probably just drop down a key level compared to what you could do on a Volcanic Bursting week, right? Or something. It's a massive difference. The dungeon rating should be equivalent to what they represent in the current system. There should be a smaller range of keystone levels to find groups for, and more meaningful progression between each level. This is a really fucking good change, by the way. It is going to be way faster to get your key to a certain level, instead of having to get it all the way up to like +30. They're literally cutting it down by 10 key levels. I think it's a good change. It's important to note that the basic structure of dungeon rewards is not changing significantly. What you would have earned for completing an M0 will be earnable in the heroic difficulty dungeon instead. Okay, so here is also the normal dungeons, heroic dungeons. This is then plus 0, yeah. Crest and Flightstone rewards are changing to match the same difficulty with only some minor adjustments. Flightstone earnings for any given M+ will match the equally challenging M+ from the previous seasons. This means that a Mythic 2 in Season 4 will give the same number of Flightstones as a Mythic 12 in Season 3. The rewards will continue to match difficulty, even if what we're calling those difficulty changes. It's not worded a weird way. Bonus Flightstone awards for increasing any party member's Mythic Plus score remain unchanged. Wobbling Crests are no longer available for M+ dungeons, as those difficulties no longer exist. Players can continue to collect Wobbling Crests from any outdoor source. Players will earn 10 Drake Crests on successfully completing an M0 dungeon, as there's no timer to beat. Worm Crest will be available in M+2 to M+5. That will be the same as doing a 12 to 15. And Aspect Crest will be done from level 16 upwards. Or in this case, it will be level 6 and upwards, but it will be the same as if you're doing a 16. Like I said, just look at the new M+ levels. You just increase it by 10. So if you're doing a 15, it's the same as if you're doing a 25. Like, that's how it's going to be. Just add 10 levels on top, and you're pretty much, you would be able to compare it to the current system. Let's see, I think since they're scaling dungeons down, they should reserve all the affixes to give you positive benefits and see what level players can go. I mean, it's a massive rework, right? I do think that if the affixes were more positive, instead of having, like, let's say, negative weeks, where, it's bolstering week, we're not going to play, like, this happens all the time. I think people would enjoy M+ more.